I would just like to say this is a new robe, and itself is near my legs, are exposed by the robe won't cover, and maybe this is why I have blemishes, and I have hair on my legs, and they're not full length anymore, and I have some kind of skin hives problem. And this is like a fine, fabric in comparison with that. My skin is not in excellent condition. I just want to say I needed death on myself for that reason. So I want to die in God because I'm not really, healthy to buy clothes right now. It's a robe acknowledges that I don't have a full clothing problem, and because I am dying in my leverage of how I'm alive here, which is God deceased right now, and I'm also homeless and threatening. That would be elsewhere's. So I would also agree eating the food is maybe above myself in the health. But I'm hungry, so I'm still eating food because I'm hungry. What about the rest of you who've been eating out of the public food supply? How's your health lately? Are you poisoning the public food supply with your ill health? Have you been discharged from a hospital and you go directly to jail for arraignment into prison? So you go to the store and you get food. That's not a good idea. And I want you to use food for that. You don't know how to be yourself, and you're showing signs of that being ill. And what about ugly? Are you ugly and you're eating out of the public food supply? If you're ugly and you're eating out of the public food supply, I would like to describe my appearance as being too small and feminine, or at this time it's mutilated feminine genitals. Feminine genitals mutilated. I have genitals mutilated because you eat out of the public food supply with your ugly warning that your reflection in the mirror bars you. No, you're not allowed to eat the food. Don't spread your ugly to me like it's a disease. Myself, besides, if you just walk by and I say goodbye to you, I don't want to see you ever again because you're ugly. What's ugly? Ugly. You don't want. Does everybody want to be a soul? What about the ugly people? If beautiful people want to be a soul and ugly people want to be a soul, how do you sort that out? That we have to treat everybody the same. Ugly people should not ask beautiful people for anything. Ugly people should not ask God for his food. Well, I have ugly on myself, and I am God deceased right here. And it's ugly. I have hair on my legs like a male person, and I'm female. I don't need hair on my legs. Feminine genitals on the Godhead mutilated by hair on my legs. I used to shave. When I told my mom I wanted to shave my legs, and I needed her to give me razors, she didn't want to do that. Immediately. Well, at the time she didn't, she hesitated. She didn't want to give me a razor immediately, but she did give me immediately. Father! When I asked my mom for a razor, she hesitated before she gave one to me. Why do I need to shave my legs? I don't know what's in it for her at this point. Well, it's my house. Is she still in there? Well, I don't know where she is, but she's not due to ask me why I want to shave my legs. It's not due to have hair on my legs, but I am far past that. It would be, that I would say no to something and I would not grow more hair on my legs. I have as much hair on my legs as can be because I'm a runner. Well, I'm a runner for myself to cease. I am running away from everything I see that is ugly. I'm running away from everything that thinks there is nothing that is mine to myself, to itself, to yourselves, to everybody who's not myself. What if you think something is not mine to myself, to yourself, and then you think that about maybe someone near you, maybe a friend of yours? Or what if you're in a store and you think that, let's say you're a cashier in a store, and I want to buy something and I want to make it mine to myself. I want to pay the price. And then there's a line of customers who are waiting to check out whatever they selected in a clothing store. And then all the other shoppers in the clothing store on a busy weekend day. Then I say I want to buy something. And you say that's not yours to yourself until you make a payment. And I fulfill the transaction and give you a receipt and a bag from the store, and that's your permission that you have something to leave the store with. And that's ugly to do that. If you're a cashier, you're ugly doing that. And if you're beautiful, you're not due to charge anybody. You should stand at the cash register and don't charge anybody. But how long would you stand there? Maybe if somebody asks for something and you're beautiful, you just leave the cash register. Yep, if they want to pay the cash register, they can do it without being, trained on how to use that exact cash register. And it's key. So you do ugly things all the time. Beautiful people do ugly things, and they're not truly beautiful, and they don't die on time. If you're beautiful, that means you have a death that is favorable to maybe many people about just your own self. And then if you're ugly, that means that you're going to die against everyone who's not yourself. And then there are many levels of ugly. When would you die against somebody who's not yourself? And then why would it be good or bad? It's bad. If you're ugly, that's bad. That means you don't see the omnipotence of God creating someone who's not yourself. So how did you get born to be ugly? That's what's wrong with you speaking English. If you're ugly, you don't speak English. You're not due to speak English to somebody who's beautiful because you're ugly and you don't know it, because you can't see that you're ugly when you're looking at somebody else. You can see that you're ugly when you're looking in the mirror and you're not looking at the mirror at the time you're talking to somebody over your ugly face. Aaron Epstein, do you know why ugly is alarming? Are you sure ugly is alarming to myself? Because Aaron Epstein has an ugly problem. Aaron Epstein launched somebody on a rocket alive. And that's like murdering somebody, and he did it with his last name, Epstein. He consumed it wherever he is. Rocky, do you get launched on a rocket because you're an animal that's been in my house? You're not just any animal. You're an animal that lived in my house for more than 12 years. And you don't have to be a tennis player to bark in my house. Rocky, you should be launched on a rocket for Aaron Epstein so he understands what's ugly about my house besides my parents. Howard Chait, you did something wrong to me when you said, I think you should get off your parents' money. That's ugly, and that had to say that to somebody who's not yourself. It's ugly because you were talking and you weren't alone at the time you made the statement. I think you should get off your parents' money. You were not alone at the time you made the statement. You weren't looking in the mirror alone in the bathroom talking to yourself. You said it to somebody who's not yourself, and I know who I am. And you said, I think you should get off your parents' money, and my parents were not there to say that they heard you, and they told you that they are my parents to yourself at that time, to myself. So they have to say, they're my parents to yourself, they're my parents to myself, that way, not really. And then the charges for rent, I did not really tell Howard Chait, I pay rent and I need you to help me pay my rent. I didn't say that. I didn't tell Howard Chait that I pay rent. No, I didn't tell him. That's none of your business. Sexual climax from the presence of an enemy, not enough leverage to tell Howard Chait that I pay rent. I'm killing my overlord. You want to make an embarrassing sexual climax in the presence of an enemy? Any enemy. I don't know who you are. In the afterlife, I'm going to know who you are. Does not do. You are to be exterminated like a cockroach. You should never know who I am by the time I come to myself, because you've been exterminated like a cockroach. Why'd you even do it? If you were ordered to do it, that's still you. You look like that. You were where you were. That's you. Charles, so why are you paying rent charges to myself still, even though you're not here right now? 23 years of paying rent charges to myself. What do you have in that? That is completely selfless of Charles Toe, having not a self. Charles Toe self. You don't have a self. Charles Toe self doesn't exist. Paying rent charges to myself. You don't live in a cohabitation when you have to pay rent charges. Who started that? Howard Chait started that? You're mentally impossible people. Are you ugly people? Charles Toe, you're Asian. You're not really speaking ugly. In Asian words, that's not really, the word is not ugly. It has other words. But Howard Chait, you speak English. You're ugly. Trying to pay somebody else's rent charges by telling them, yeah, I think you should get off your parents' money and find another way to pay your rent charges someplace else. How do you know I'm going to have rent charges if I go someplace else? And wouldn't they be higher if I didn't pay these rent charges right here? Are you trying to raise my rent and you don't even know where? You don't know how much? Where do you expect me to get all the rent money? All at once, so that I'm going away from you and not telling you where I am. At my own expense. Where do you expect me to get that kind of money? You don't care. That's not due to come out of your ugly mouth. You're definitely ugly. The rent charges at the time Howard Chait said to me, I think you should get off your parents' money. The rent charges I was getting at Highlands Apartments offices were $400 a month lease for 12 months lease, and they were in progress and they were current. So what kind of rent charge is that? Are you sure you're supposed to charge me the rent? Because I know the rent was charged to me. Or I wouldn't be alive in the apartment if they didn't charge me the rent. They did charge me. The signatures were in place. The money had moved. So who's Howard Chait besides being ugly? I mean, that's a little bit mentally impossible. Why wasn't his ugly covered by that the office had landlording? Who are they landlording? Are they landlording me? What about heaven? Is heaven landlording the landlords? Landlords are landlording myself. Heaven is landlording myself. Who is reporting to who that I paid rent? It can't be me because you charged me the money. You charged me. That means you don't believe me. You gave me a receipt because you don't believe me. Howard Shady clearly didn't believe me. How do you want me to pay these rent charges with sexual climax in the presence of an enemy? Do you think that's going to help you? I want sexual climax in the presence of an enemy in a walled-in prison with deceased address, and if the overlord is alive in public, making sexual climax in public, I am myself deceased. I am not going to help you with that. I know who I am, none higher than he, deceased. I am not going to help you with that. That means you are in that debt right now, and I'm not in it with you. Saying don't shout won't help. Saying you don't believe and shout won't help. It's too late. It's too late for you. I am myself deceased in the threatening. I am the overlord speaking. Well, my soul is also an overlord, but not in the maniacal scream way that we say it, because I'm living in scream of everything that's aliving and alive. No, as though we all live in dwellings, and if we go in motor vehicles that all have broken glass windows, and we still, occupy the motor vehicles and dwellings that have broken glass windows, and they're completely exposed to the weather and air outside. Well, I can't afford this scream anymore because it's just nothing but karma to myself. I'm threatening that I don't afford some of the creation of the karma I've made in this lifetime for this Godhead. It doesn't afford it. It doesn't have a way out because I am illegally aliving the Essex. It doesn't afford itself. It's my order that there is an Essex that's beneath myself elsewhere. It was formed in a God form that was named Becky, but here it's named Becky Mocker. And I'm not Becky Mocker, I'm Becky Moser, deceased. Moser did not work out for me because other people named their last name Moser, and they occupied everything, and they hostage myself, and they controlled money and property, and they tied it up and occupied banking. They occupied banking without being in the bank. Well, they did that. If they were disputing the banking, they didn't go to the bank and occupy the bank. And then they were disputing the keys and the banking. And then they expanded and used more keys and occupied more keys in banking. And I don't actually work for you because I don't have a life that way. I am really just myself. The reason I work, well, I worked because there were some threats to work and I wasn't finished. Now I'm finished working. And you have recently landlorded that you want Moser, my last name Moser, and you want myself from this apartment number 1 in Fremont Gardens, Las Vegas, Nevada. You want me to go out and get a job and pay the rent. I've heard that since I've been homeless, and you don't understand what's wrong with you. And that's like you just talk over that you just don't understand what's wrong with you. And you don't understand what's wrong with that. You don't know how to get out of the debt you're in. other than to dig yourself in deeper and occupy the time with yourself that you are asking another question about yourself, and I am not yourself. That has been asked and answered by myself. I did say I am myself deceased, and you still don't leave on that point. The office should be closed and closed. By that, everyone should be evacuated out of Fremont Gardens, except for myself, and you can't tell me to leave on your way out. Nope, you can't knock on my door and tell me that you're on your way out, or tell me that I have to leave with you. You're not allowed to talk to me about myself. And you need to know the difference. You can't be jealous of me. I'm none higher than me deceased. I'm none higher than he deceased right here. I deceased the creation of myself. And you're still trying to talk to me about how I need to leave with you because I'm just like you to you in every way. You don't believe in me. You don't believe in what? I executed the creation of myself because you didn't believe in me, and now you don't believe in me. Are you sure? It's your question, not mine. You repeated your questions. I did not. I am deceased. They are your questions, not mine.